share that link as well with your friends and family. If you want to call in a bit, the number to do so is 452-3046. Again, 452-3046. That's our mainline number here. And you can also message in to our WhatsApp number. That is 724-0008. Of course, if you're overseas, you can also call in on that WhatsApp number. And that number is 724-0008. Now, some birthday greetings for today going out to Mr. Martinus Longville. Happy birthday to you, sir. We hope that you're having a very blessed day. And also sending birthday greetings to Miss Jody Lubin. Happy birthday to you, Jody. And we do hope that you're having a fantastic birthday celebration. Some history for today. Well, on this day in the year 1940, the Battle of Britain began as Nazi forces attacked shipping convoys in the English Channel. 1985, on this day, saw French foreign intelligence agents blowing up the Greenpeace flagship, the Rainbow Warrior, in Auckland Harbour, New Zealand. And that was to prevent that ship from interfering with French nuclear tests in the South Pacific. And as a result of that, in fact, a Dutch photographer by the name of Fernando Pereira was killed. On this day in the year 1991, Boris Yeltsin was sworn in as the first elected president of the Russian Federation. And in 2012, on this day, the American Episcopal Church became the first to approve a right for blessing gay marriages. And we now move on to our dish of the day. The daily dish is brought with the kind compliments of our good friends at Tiles Plus.
One tiles for your home, I see. Bathroom, kitchen, pantry. Need tiles for your balcony. Come down to Tiles Plus, satisfaction guarantee. Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus. Because if unbeatable cost. Customer service, A plus, need all kind of tiles. Come down to Tiles Plus. We also got gasware and vanity. Books, doors, you'll see. Come down to my nobody. We got the best tiles on island. Trust me. We are located Lance Road in Castries, Bosses Brusilate, and Flag Street in Beaufort. Telephone number 453-7939. Tiles Plus.
Serving now, the Daily Dish.
And welcome back to our program for today. And we do hope that you're having a very blessed one. Of course, there is Olympics around the corner. And in fact, very soon, I think over the weekend, there's going to be a ceremony from the local Olympic Committee to sort of kick off that the St. Lucia team that's going to be actually heading across there, of course, to get onto the tracks and to get into the swimming pools and to participate in the field events. And Julian Alfred, of course, is the shining star and perhaps one of the best known St. Lucian athletes in the world right now. And she, in fact, has gotten off to a very good start. And a story by Terry Finister, in fact, which I want to just share very quickly, reads as follows. St. Lucia's Julian Alfred got her pre-Olympic European tour off to a perfect start on Tuesday with a 200-meter victory at the Gyulai Istvan Memorial. And that is a Hungarian athletics Grand Prix in a star-studded field in Keszkevesar, I think it's pronounced, in Hungary. The 2024 World Indoor Champion equaled her season's best of 22.16 for the win. Jamaica's Sharika Jackson, the second fastest woman in the world ever over this distance, is also the record holder for this meet. The two-time world champion had in fact won in that location 3 times in a row. Jackson unfortunately pulled up on the home straight after a strong start, but Alfred held her composure to power through the line ahead of Great Britain's Daryl Nater in a season best of 22.36. Alfred's training partner, Lene Tava Thomas of Jamaica, in 22.54, and a third Jamaican, Natasha Morrison, 22.95. Alfred is now set to compete in two Wonder Diamond League events in Monaco and London before lining up at the Olympics in Paris, France. So, again, congratulations to Julian as she continues to make us very proud. And of course, as she is building up her momentum for her participation in the upcoming Olympic Games that are happening in Paris, France, not too far away from now. In fact, starting off this month. Now, of course, we've been monitoring the entire matter of citizenship by investment, and that has been quite a topical matter, of course. And the changes in the regime, which have been called upon by various governments, um, give wonder, of course, the state of the longevity of this industry and how it is in fact going to pan out in the long run. Now, of course, we've been seeing some significant changes. Immigration is a major issue in Europe and North America. And part of that challenge, of course, is the entire matter of individuals who may want to come into the country, uh, but they may want to simply just have the ability to come in without having a visa. And the reality is that across the world, there are countries where there's quite a lot of wealth, but it is pretty volatile. And one place that comes to mind quite often is that of the People's Republic of China. It, in fact, as we mentioned before, when you look at the data, there are over 800,000 high net worth individuals in China, second highest in the world. And many of them are looking for uh, effectively an insurance plan in the event that they may somehow get into trouble with the law, with authorities, that they would not be treated fairly, and they may, along with their family, would have to flee the country. And that is one of the reasons why individuals are, in fact, attracted to get into or to apply and to gain CBI second passports. But of course, there have been significant changes with our system of late. And there's a very interesting article that has been written, and it's entitled "How the New CBI Framework Will Affect EU Golden Visas," and it's actually by Tahesh Shihab, the CEO of Global Citizens Consultants, and it analyzes the effects of the Caribbean MOA, a memorandum of agreement, and its price changes on the investment migration industry. I think it's good to share this to give some context to what we are seeing right now and the implications for our CBIs. The deadline has passed, and the Caribbean Five have kept their word. Price hikes all around, notwithstanding Antigua and Barbuda's minor postponement. This unified change signals a significant shift in the region and the industry as a whole. It will have far reaching effects that will impact different sections of stakeholders throughout the globe. It is an oversimplification to categorize the price changes as simply good or bad. The matter is complex and will have immediate and trickle down impacts. As a professional in the industry, as a professional in the investment migration industry for nearly a decade, I have seen my fair share of changes, and I want to share what I believe will be the most significant effects of the Caribbean MOA on the global RCBI industry. The Caribbean's decision to increase minimum investment thresholds may have priced out a segment of the market, but for those who still manage to afford it, and they remain numerous, it is an absolute positive. First of all, Fewer applications means faster processing and lower wait times. CIUs, or Citizenship Investment Units, can give more attention to each file, and the entire procedure will become more streamlined. This is a considerable benefit for those who prioritize speed with quality. Second, Caribbean CBI will become more exclusive. This benefits those who consider Caribbean CBI an elite status symbol, as fewer can afford the new price. It will have an exclusive allure about it, but the real benefit is much more than that. Due to the curb in growth, the number of Caribbean passport holders will decrease in airports and at borders. This will lead to less scrutiny and more understanding from passport control, ensuring that the travel experience is smoother and more enjoyable. While this is currently the case, the sheer number of applicants under the old pricing regime may have changed how other countries perceive Caribbean passports. That is no longer a concern. The price hike is a double edged sword. While it may benefit many parties, it will negatively impact a specific segment of the market, those who need a second citizenship to function but cannot afford the new prices. This need is something we see a lot in the GCC region. Many companies in the area place restrictions on employees of certain nationalities. Some nationalities have soft sanctions, while others have difficulty renewing their ICAMA residency permit. And some companies have quotas for different nationalities, a matter that the government sometimes enforces. Having a second citizenship is crucial for people with temporary travel documents or specific nationalities to thrive in this economic and political landscape. In other cases, companies want to continue promoting someone, but their limited global mobility due to their weak passport means they aren't the best option for a job that requires constant travel. Syrians, Yemenis, and temporary travel document holders make up a considerable part of the workforce in the GCC, but their passports restrict them. This limitation can lead to them losing out on jobs and promotions or even becoming victims of changing regulations. They need second citizenship, and we've numerous cases like this while operating in the GCC. The Caribbean Memorandum of Agreement changes may price this segment out. Caribbean governments would not have raised their prices if it were not beneficial for them. Higher pricing means greater perceived value for their passports, and although demand may drop a bit, they will more than make up for it in terms of income. One file will bring in the value of at least two previously, and the percentage of the market that cannot afford them anymore won't be higher than 20 to 25%, meaning that the overall margins will be much better going forward. However, the higher price point gives Caribbean passports an aura of eliteness that the previous price wars had damaged. The new thresholds emphasize that Caribbean passports are an exclusive commodity and that governments value them highly. It is better financially and bolsters their image. Moreover, the increased real estate investment thresholds, barring Dominica, will encourage more developers to open projects in the Caribbean as funding is now more plentiful. They no longer need to attract hundreds of investors just to break ground. More money for more more money for more developers will have a domino effect on the Caribbean real estate market. And those who bought real estate years ago may benefit from the new housing market in the region. Many people in the industry assumed that the Caribbean price hike was good news for EU golden visas and that investors would pivot towards residency in Europe. This assumption is flawed. In the MENA region, Middle East and North Africa region, the route to EU golden visas is not always straightforward, and a Caribbean passport may be the solution. Many in the region rely on getting a Caribbean passport as a stepping stone towards e residency. Whether opening a business or getting residency through investment, many nationalities in the region cannot pursue EU immigration without a second passport. Many cannot open a bank account in the EU to invest. Others cannot travel to check on real estate, conduct due diligence on investment options, or even apply. Having a Caribbean passport solves all of those issues. But now, since the price is higher, some may be unable to afford a Caribbean passport and an EU golden visa. This indirect effect may seem far fetched to some, but any experienced RCBI professional in the MENA region, Middle East and North Africa region, will tell you that this is a more common occurrence than you might expect. Finally, the Caribbean MOA has made it impossible for opportunistic players in the RCBI industry to come in and make quick cash without breaking a sweat. Companies that rely on low costs by cutting corners won't be able to compete when the entire playing field is on a higher level. Those who offer high standards of service and truly provide exceptional professionalism will have no issue adapting to the changes. Others, who only want to take advantage of the downward price spiral, suddenly find themselves unable to compete on cost or service quality. The MOA will have a direct impact on the service quality among RCBI professionals. It will bolster those who are qualified, experienced, and empathetic enough to provide their clients with the advisory they need, and it will weed out those who don't care and just want to make a quick buck. The Memorandum of Agreement ushers in a new era of investment migration. It will have its negatives and positives, like anything else in the world, but I firmly believe it is a massive step in the right direction for the Caribbean and its on all its stakeholders. Change may be slow at first, but we will see its effects with time. For now, I will continue focusing on providing my clients with the best solutions possible at the highest level of service. And as I mentioned, this was a piece written by Taher Shihab of Global Citizens Consultants. And of course, the market for second citizenship is, as we mentioned, a big, big business right now, and certainly really important for certain regions, for especially for people in countries where there is quite a lot of instability, uncertainty, lack of confidence in the state apparatus, and what and the possibilities that things may very well become rocky somewhere down the road. And there are countries where you're seeing significant growth in the number of millionaires out there. In particular, in fact, interesting enough, the world's fastest growing place where you've got millionaires is Vietnam. And Vietnam, of course, is still a communist country, but is a country that is benefiting considerably to quite a lot of the, sort of a spillover effect from China. A lot of businesses that would have tended to have continued operation in China are finding it um, more expensive because of the higher costs of wages. And in fact, they are now heading to Southeast Asia and into countries like Vietnam. As a result of that, they're seeing a significant boom in manufacturing, but also in other areas such as tourism. And that is also, Vietnam is becoming a significant magnet for tourists in Asia in general. So for Japanese and Taiwanese and many other Koreans are heading to Vietnam. And that is actually creating wealth in Vietnam. In fact, they are, over the past decade, the area where they've seen the fastest growth in the number of millionaires. In fact, that figure has doubled. Still relatively small in comparison to many other places, but over 19,000 millionaires in a country where the population is nearly, I believe, nearly 100 million. So certainly, many of these countries, the UAE and others, where things may sometimes seem uncertain in terms of uh, decision making, and people sometimes fear that there may very well be an unfair decision towards them for whatever reason, or they may end up getting arrested for wrongly. That insurance policy that comes from having a second passport is certainly very attractive for many. And of course, as the article in fact intimated, there are a lot of other reasons in terms of business transaction and moving around, ease of doing business. All of that certainly makes the program pretty attractive. Of course, and the Caribbean has been providing that for quite some time. And of course, as you heard, more is not necessarily better. And the emphasis on quality instead of quantity in respect of the CBI is something that is being pointed out, that you can actually do better if you focus a little bit more time in doing the due diligence on more high value applications. And that entire thrust, of course, is the direction within which we are seeing countries in the Caribbean heading to. In fact, just yesterday, the government published through the Gazette the changes to the regulations of the Citizenship by Investment Act, and that made some significant changes to uh, some of the applications and the pricing there. For instance, the amendment to Section 9, Regulation 9, and it speaks to the minimum qualifying investment amount being set at 200,000 United States dollars, and other amendments which dealt with um, applicants applying with up to three qualifying dependents, 240,000 US dollars. Each additional qualifying dependent under 18 years of age, 10,000 US dollars. Each additional qualifying dependent above 18 years of age, 20,000 US dollars. A newborn child of a citizen who is 12 months of age or below, 5,000 US dollars. A spouse of a citizen, 35,000 US dollars. Qualifying dependent of a citizen other than a spouse, 25,000 US dollars. Investment in an approved real estate project. On approval of an application by means of an investment in an approved real estate project, the following minimum investment is required. Applicant and any number of qualifying dependents, and that is US $300,000 plus applicable administrative fees. And there are also, of course, changes to investment in an approved enterprise project. Some changes there being made, and that is captured in Gazette that was issued yesterday. So just thought we should give you some update regarding that, some of those changes with respect to the CBI. Of course, it still is a somewhat tenuous time because, of course, the nature of politics, especially with the European Parliament, and some of the changes that you're seeing with a rise in a stronger presence of right-wing parties, ultra-right-wing parties, means that CBI programs could be easy targets for some of these, the agenda of some of these parties as they look to deal with issues which they perceive may impact on immigration and national security. And, and so, of course, it really is very important that the citizenship by investment programs in the Eastern Caribbean are seen to be very, very rigid and very strict in terms of their due diligence, and of course, very transparent in their arrangements and in their dealings. That's our dish of the day. When we come back, we're going to be taking in our weather report.
This has been the Daily Dish.
One tells for your home, I see. Bathroom, kitchen, pantry. Need tells for your balcony. Come down to Tells Plus satisfaction guarantee. Tells Plus, Tells Plus, Tells Plus. Because if unbeatable cost. Customer service, A plus. If all kind of tests come down to Tells Plus. We also got gas and vanity. Books, doors, you'll see. Come down to my nobody. We got the best tells on island. Trust me. We are located Land Street in Castries, Bosses Grozile, and Slack Street in Viewfort. Telephone number 453-7939.
Girl, I've been so stressed searching for the perfect tiles to complete my home.
Really?
Yeah, it's always the same white, beige, and gray tiles with these tile stores. Like they're all buying from the same place. You're the design expert. Help me, please. I'm fed up.
What are you looking for?
Something different. Something that says Caribbean beauty and suits my personality. Something vibrant and classy with a little razzle dazzle.
Okay, Ms. Razzle Dazzle, I know just the place. Island Style Tile and Bath, they're my number one store for everything tile. And with their new In Living Color collection, you'll find the most gorgeous styles to give you that splash of Caribbean flair you're looking for.
That sounds perfect.
I'll even take you myself and throw in a free design consultation.
I'll never say no to that, sis. I can't afford you anyway.
Visit our Island Style showrooms in Castries, Rodney Bay, and Viewfort, or call 450-452 or 453 Tile. We'll help bring your vision to life in living color.
This is Radio Caribbean International. It's now time for the weather news.
And that's what, of course, the World Put World. It's now time for your weather report as of top noon today, presented by Island Style Talent Bar. The forecast valid for St. Lucia for the next 24 hours. Winds will be blowing from between the east and east-northeast near 18 miles per hour or 30 kilometers per hour. The weather fair to occasionally cloudy and hazy with a few showers. And there is an advisory in here which reads that persons with respiratory ailments and dust allergies should take the necessary precautions due to reduced air quality. Also, small craft operators are advised to exercise caution due to reduced visibility. Forecast for the Lesser Antilles, fair to occasionally cloudy and hazy with widely scattered showers. And the tropical weather outlook, the Atlantic high pressure system will generate moderate easterly winds across the eastern Caribbean region over the next few days. Patches of low-level clouds drifting along the wind flow will cause occasional showers over the Lesser Antilles during the next 24 hours. Also, a plume of Saharan dust haze will continue to cause a reduction in visibility and air quality across the region during the forecast period. A weak tropical wave located over the western tropical Atlantic is moving westward near 17 miles per hour or 28 kilometers per hour. This wave is expected to affect our region on Thursday. Another tropical wave located over the central tropical Atlantic is moving westward near 15 miles per hour or 24 kilometers per hour. This wave is expected to affect our region from late Friday into Saturday. Tropical cyclone formation is not expected over the tropical Atlantic during the next 7 days. And this was your weather report as of 12 noon today, presented by Island Style Talent Bar.
This has been RCI's Weather News. For more information, call the Weather Hotline at 454-3452. RCI 101 number 1.
Girl, I've been so stressed searching for the perfect tiles to complete my home.
Really?
Yeah, it's always the same white, beige, and gray tiles with the style stores. Like they're all buying from the same place. You're the design expert. Help me, please. I'm fed up.
What are you looking for?
Something different. Something that says Caribbean beauty and suits my personality. Something vibrant and classy with a little razzle dazzle.
Okay, Ms. Razzle Dazzle, I know just the place. Island Style Tile and Bath, they're my number one store for everything tile. And with their new in living color collection, you'll find the most gorgeous styles to give you that splash of Caribbean flair you're looking for.
That sounds perfect.
I'll even take you myself and throw in a free design consultation.
I'll never say no to that, sis. I can't afford you anyway.
Visit our Island Style showrooms in Castries, Rodney Bay, and View Fort, or call 450-452 or 453 Tile. We'll help bring your vision to life in living color.
And welcome back to our program here at the Lunchroom on Radio Caribbean International. Of course, the number to call in to tell us what's on your plate today. It is 452-3046. Again, 452-3046. Now, of course, we have for quite some time known that the Caribbean is also a particularly active part of the network of the transshipment of narcotics around the world, particularly coming out of South America, South and Central America, and headed to the areas where there's great demand, and largely, of course, Europe and North America. And there's been, of course, we've known for a long time the battle of the war on drugs during the Reagan years, and a continued effort by governments, police departments, Interpol, other agencies dealing with these issues in trying to stem the tide. And of course, that requires a considerable amount of resources, of intelligence, of monitoring to be able to deal with this matter. Of course, as a result of that, the price of these items can be exceedingly high. And so, of course, it is a high stakes undertaking. And in fact, to the extent that we've seen all forms of very creative ways by which these individuals are trafficking cocaine and other forms of drugs. That, of course, sometimes involves high speed boats. It sometimes involves even submarines that are built specifically for that purpose. Planes are used, of course, helicopters are used in some instances. And it's also done through conventional shipping as well. And that usually will require a significant amount of money for the corrupting of the systems, the enforcement systems that are to try to prevent these things from coming through, and for certain individuals within these agencies, whether it's customs and other law enforcement, to turn a blind eye. And it's, of course, big business. And so we do know that sometimes, however, you end up with an impact. And sometimes we believe that maybe that the what we are actually intercepting may very well just be the tip of the iceberg. Well, one of those tips came up in over the weekend, and in fact, according to reports from the police, on Saturday, July the 6th, 2024, at around 6:30 in the morning, a coordinated exercise carried out by multiple units of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force led to the seizure of a significant quantity of cocaine at Prale Bay. The operation involved the drug unit, the Marine Police unit, and Special Services units, resulting in the successful recovery of 385.6 kilograms of cocaine at Prale Bay. And in fact, that was the extent of what was said. Now, of course, there has been a considerable amount of speculation as to, um, well, where is this going? Uh, who are the owners of this cocaine? Was anybody actually intercepted in this entire matter? Was it gotten on a boat? Was it how did that all happen? And I suppose some of these details are being guarded by the police because it is no doubt still a matter of investigation. But of course, it is a considerable haul in terms of the size of that interception there. Again, 1,385.6, 1,385.6 kilograms. And there are different values that are sometimes appended. I mean, in terms of the street value or the wholesale value of cocaine, but potentially in the U.S. market, you really are speaking about a wholesale value somewhere around $70,000 a kilo uh, for for cocaine. Of course, now there are a lot of different issues there in terms of whether the purity of it and all of that. So this is of course a certain level of it's merely just an estimate. But if you in fact do apply that rate, the potential value of what we're speaking about is in the region of 100 million US dollars, right? In terms of what was actually uh, intercepted by the Royal St. Lucia Police Force. So this is, in fact, a very, very significant capture. It's certainly a lot of wealth that has, in fact, been held. Somebody is obviously going to be feeling a significant pinch in regards to this, one would think, because of the kind of wealth that we are talking about here. I mean, when you're speaking on that level, you then of course equate it to things that we see here. When we speak about a lot of these tourism investments, for instance, that come into St. Lucia, we're speaking about usually, something that might be valued at 100 million US dollars, a very significant. That's a significant investment right there. So the scale of what we're speaking about is quite telling, and it's of course interesting that we're seeing so much of this passing through our waters, and of course being intercepted by the authorities here in Saint Lucia. So, of course, kudos to the Royal Saint Lucia Police Force and the action that they have taken in this matter. This is I'm not sure if it's the largest drug bust ever, but it is an undoubtedly a significant amount of material that was actually captured, a product that was actually captured by the Royal St. Lucia Police Force. It, of course, will raise lots of questions, as I mentioned, in terms of who are the beneficiaries, and we've seen it sometimes in the past where um, things like this have happened, and sometimes they grow cold, and the public is perhaps not provided with further updates as to how these matters are developing. And so let's hope that we can get some additional information on this as things move on. Now, of course, as I mentioned, tourism is our business, and it is the business that is growing in a lot of places around the world. And of course, Europe right now is is largely very much dependent on tourism, but sometimes it can actually have a negative impact. And we've been speaking about the negative impacts of tourism, of course, right here But even in larger countries where you would think that there's a lot of great capacity and whatnot, it sometimes can get to the point where people are so upset about tourism that they have even taken to the streets. We have seen some places like Venice, for instance, very famous port city, the long history on the Adriatic Sea, with all its canals and its historic palaces, and of course, a quintessential, globally known tourism product. And it has effectively meant that the average Venetian can't even afford an apartment or to live in that city. They quite often have to find places to live outside of the city because it gets so crowded and because of the prices that people have to deal with. Well, even in Spain, they too are dealing with the issue of over tourism. And there's an interesting piece that came out through the BBC recently looking at the situation over in Barcelona, in particular, in Spain, but also the fact that even to the extent that people are actually protesting about the extent of tourism. Let's take in a listen.
Spain, the economy has been growing faster than most of its neighbours recently, and that's in great part due to its tourism industry, which contributes around 13% of GDP growth and once again is breaking records. But not everyone is happy about the growth of tourism in Spain, which is now seeing a backlash in many parts of the country. Guy Hedgecoe reports from Malaga.
For more than half a century, a tourism model based on sun and sand has been a driving force for the Spanish economy. And today, it's a main reason why the country's GDP is growing faster than almost all its European neighbours. This year, nearly 100 million foreign visitors are expected, a new record.
We have been responsible in the last years of the most important percentage of growth of our economy. In 2023, we were responsible of 80% of the whole GDP growth of Spain, because other sectors were not growing, neither at the speed nor at the level of tourism.
But Spain's relationship with tourism seems to be at a tipping point. A backlash has started as the country counts the cost of an industry which has been so lucrative. Popular holiday destinations like the Canary Islands and the Balearics have seen protests by local people, upset at the impact tourism is having on their home environment. The southern city of Malaga staged a similar demonstration. Much of the anger is caused by the high number of apartments used as short-term tourist accommodation. In Malaga, nearly a third of all properties are in this category.
The city, it's being developed in a way that the prices are going so high that now people who work and live here cannot really afford an apartment. You feel like you are in a theme park, that everything is not really for living there.
This discontent has triggered discussion of possible ways of controlling arrivals or even rethinking Spain's tourism model.
If we want to really talk about sustainable tourism or a lower number of tourists, we should discuss about limits to the activity and higher restrictions and more regulation of the sector, which until now has been like kind of free to act. But right now we need to start putting some limits.
Malaga is one of several Spanish cities which are planning on introducing restrictions on the granting of licenses for short-term accommodation. But Barcelona is going even further. And in 2028, it plans to revoke the licenses of all of its 10,000 or so tourist apartments. But as Spain's popularity as a tourist destination shows no sign of fading, many are asking whether the country's success is still a good thing. Guy Hedgecoe, BBC News, Malaga.
And of course, that piece looking at the issue of over tourism, as it's being termed, in Spain. Of course, right here in Saint Lucia, the issue may not necessarily be so much in terms of the rental market as yet, but you never know. We are seeing far more individuals looking at putting forward rental for high value Airbnb properties as opposed to necessarily offering properties out for rent. And now, of course, it's a mixed bag because people tell you, well, it's a good opportunity, of course, for locals to be able to participate in the tourism market, for them to have greater ownership and to get a piece of the pie. And that certainly is pretty welcome for many individuals. We've seen how Airbnb has certainly helped in transforming certain communities. Labry, for instance, has been hailed as one of these success stories for community tourism, where lots of individuals have been able to invest in those types of Airbnb or apartment villa accommodations, and it's still a growing market, as well as the added facilities, restaurants that would be necessary to support these individuals. So there's a great opportunity for spreading the wealth, especially at the community level, when we look at that. But of course, sometimes in some places, it can potentially have a negative impact on ordinary people who may very well be looking for not necessarily rental accommodation, and that might be an issue, but the cost of land. And we're seeing in how the people are now setting the price of land based on, well, not necessarily what um, their neighbor down the road may want to be paying, but perhaps what somebody coming out of the US or the UK may be willing to pay for that piece of land. And of course, that has led to a degree, in some instances, of land speculation, and of course, the rising of prices. And so, in this type of environment, it can become uh, pretty difficult then to be able to maintain, in one instance, individuals who want to be able to live in an area or to maintain that, but also the way of life of communities. And so, even in rural areas, we're seeing a certain push towards um, land being sold, being subdivided, and then, of course, being sold. Now, of course, in very picturesque places like Choiseul, which for all intents and purposes has been and is, you think of it as a rural countryside experience, and lots of people want that authenticity and to be able to enjoy it. But and of course, you're seeing some investments coming in that regard, but then it has to hit that balance point. There has to be that control and regulation when it comes to the extent to which these things are allowed to happen. Because the very same thing that you are looking for, that people want to come to enjoy, which is the beauty of the countryside and the greenery, the fresh air, the country roads, which are quiet and calm and peaceful, those things then potentially can be jeopardized when you actually have an uncontrolled situation where people are coming in, and it becomes a frenzy of a situation. So definitely, it is important that tourism has to be planned. It's nice to think about it from yes, it can potentially grow organically, and sometimes that works out okay. But at the same time, if you're not careful, you can in fact have some very serious negative implications. Of course, one of them is that of the environment, and we can of course see that it can have a deleterious impact on the environment, and of course it can also have an impact on the capacity of the island to support itself in certain requirements of life. And you can look at maybe even water, for instance. Quite often there's this belief that that somehow hotels and certain sectors would get some sort of a priority towards services like water utilities, for instance, um, and and then of course because we don't have a lot of those resources sometimes, or when it's in a situation of scarcity, it can potentially become a problem. So of course all of these things have to be considered in the overall consideration of tourism, and what it's really costing to be able to bring forward tourism, our roads, for instance, and the congestion that can come with that too. So a lot of these things definitely have to be well thought out in terms of the impacts of tourism, albeit very important for our economy, but it has to be in a balanced and planned manner. That's all the time we have today for our program, and we do hope that you can join us for another one tomorrow. I'm your host, Calix George Jr., saying goodbye.